This small Nordic nation has long cultivated a reputation for being an oasis of socio-economic virtue and enviously high living standards. But recent events have cast Norway into an escalating state of economic peculiarity on the global stage. Last week, Norway's central bank, Norges Bank, once again confounded many by refraining from lowering interest rates. This steadfast refusal to join the widespread rate cutting embraced by other central banks, including neighboring Sweden's Riksbank, unleashed howls of indignation from those who had taken on heavy debt to invest in Oslo's pricey property market. While the decision didn't catch economists off guard, it highlighted Norway's increasingly outlier status in a world desperately seeking remedies for sluggish growth and inflation. Even those of us at the forefront of financial commentary and analysis have taken a keen interest in the idiosyncratic trajectory of Norwegian macroeconomics. However, some economic prognosticators now see a glimmer of hope on the horizon for those dismayed by Norges Bank's hawkish monetary policy stance. The analysts at Goldman Sachs have been scrutinizing the drivers of inflation in this cool Nordic realm. Their findings suggest Norges Bank may be misjudging inflationary pressures. Katja Vashkinskaya, a Goldman economist, has zeroed in on wage growth trends, a key factor for the Norwegian central bank. Using various wage models, she found evidence that slowing economic growth, increasing economic slack, and receding inflation expectations point to a faster deceleration in pay increases than Norges Bank is projecting. Turning her microscope to broader inflation dynamics, Vashkinskaya determined that service sector inflation tends to be shaped by wage growth, inflation expectations, and domestic economic activity. Imported goods inflation, meanwhile, is influenced by the exchange rate, global inflation levels, and energy costs. Factoring in some expected stickiness in rental costs, Goldman's core inflation forecast for Norway by year-end comes in at 3.2%, below the 3.5% projected by the central bank. This formed the basis for Goldman's call that Norges Bank should cut rates twice this year, with further reductions down the line to an anticipated 2025 terminal rate of 3%. In an admirable show of transparency, Goldman Sachs granted public access to the full report for my keen readership to scrutinize the analysis. I'd urge caution, however, over one key assumption underpinning their forecasts. The investment bank's projections hinge on the Norwegian krone regaining lost ground, thereby relieving upward pressures on imported inflation. But as my esteemed colleagues at MainFT have chronicled, the mystery of the krone's weakness has persistently flummoxed analysts and policymakers alike. While a krone rebound seems plausible on paper, presuming its resurgence before the currency conundrum is convincingly cracked seems imprudent. As the old market adage cautions, God created currency strategists to make economists appear clairvoyant. Theories abound on the root causes of the krone's surprising fragility, from capital outflows to more Byzantine factors. The chief economist at DNB, Norway's largest bank, has whimsically termed it the murder on the Kint Express, an apropos quip underscoring the tangled web of potential culprits. Crucially, Norges Bank itself has signaled the krone's fortunes as pivotal to reining in inflation when it jolted markets with a rate hike a year ago. Propping up this petrocurrency makes strategic sense for an economy heavily reliant on imports. Yet this policy lever risks compounding financial strains on Norwegian households already grappling with the world's highest debt burdens. That said, a glimmer of hope materialized yesterday with Norges Bank's release of its quarterly survey of public sentiment. It detected ebbing expectations for both wage increases and inflation, potentially emboldening the central bank to press ahead with rate cuts. As this saga of economic abnormality persists, Norway finds itself at a crossroads. It can stay moored to its singular monetary policy approach in hopes that domestic dynamics evolve as anticipated. Or it can concede that resisting powerful global forces may be an act of obstinate futility. For a nation renowned for its preternatural lucidity, muddling forth in a miasma of economic exceptionalism seems unsustainably peculiar. The classic Norwegian virtues of prudence and pragmatism may soon demand a recalibration that harmonizes policy with the escalating realpolitik pressures. Norway's economic distinctiveness has been a long-standing source of admiration in the international order. But amidst an era of multiplying global economic woes, it is an attribute increasingly slipping toward inexplicable idiosyncrasy. For the Nordic paragon's own sustained well-being, a judicious recalibration seems inexorably compelling.